Hi guys, this is Omer from MMOs.com doing a quick week news recap of all major MMO news and announcements for the week ending March 25th, 2019. This is episode number 192 of the recap, and the first of news this week comes from Sandbox Interactive regarding Albion Online. The game announced this last week that they'll be going free to play on April 10th. The free to play transition shouldn't be too surprising because they've been losing players since their July 2017 launch, although the player base numbers have been on the rise more recently. Still, I think this is actually a good move for the game because I actually really liked Albion Online, and the way the sandbox elements work in Albion, it just really benefits from having a lot more players in the game, so it definitely will be a big net positive. If you like old school MMORPGs like RuneScape and Ultima Online, definitely give this one a try. PvP does play a big role here too, and it has some full open loot areas, though not every area of the game has PvP, but it's a very PvP driven game. Next up, some pretty big news for Final Fantasy XIV. Square Enix held the final fan festival of Final Fantasy XIV this weekend in Tokyo, and we learned a bit more about the upcoming expansion, Shadowbringers. They announced a new playable race, Hrothgar, which is male only to contrast the female only Viera, which we already kind of knew about. They also announced a new ranged DPS class, the Dancer, and they also announced where the expansion will be set, and it'll be in a separate world called the First, as opposed to the world everything else took place on now, which is called the Source. Shadowbringers launches the early access on June 28th for anyone who pre-ordered the game, otherwise July 2nd for everyone else. I'm hyped, and I already did pre-order the game myself, so I am excited. Up next, Gamigo and Trine Worlds announced the latest update for ArcheAge, which is called 5.3, which launched this last week. 5.3 introduces a new story quest, a new raid instance for 15 to 20 players, titled Fall of Haram City, a new dungeon for up to 5 players, titled Noria Challenge, new Dragon Teep instance, new dragon weapons, and finally some new events. It's a big update for the game, so if you're still playing ArcheAge, there's a lot more stuff for you to do now. Next up, World of Warcraft just dropped the Tides of Vengeance update earlier this week, and it comes with a host of new PvP content. Tides of Vengeance is the first major content update since Battle for Azeroth launched, and it includes graphical overhauls for Arathi Basin and Warsong Gulch, a new Comp Stomp Brawl, a new AI Brawl, and the addition of Wintergrass to the Epic Battlegrounds list. While WoW's fallen off the radar a bit, it remains by far the biggest PC MMORPG in the West, and SuperData Research actually ranked them as the 9th highest grossing PC game in the world last month, so WoW is still doing great. Speaking of SuperData, they released the February 2019 Global Games Report, and it showed some interesting things. Most notably, Apex Legends made the list during its launch month and earned a cool $92 million from in-game spending across all platforms, and secured the number 6 spot on PC and the number 4 spot on console. In fact, SuperData dubbed Apex Legends as having the best launch month of any free-to-play game in history. And while it's still quite a bit behind Fortnite, if momentum holds, it does have a chance of surpassing it, though I think Fortnite holds onto the crown much longer. Another interesting tidbit in the report was that Hearthstone suffered a huge downturn year over year, with revenues down 52% across PC and mobile, which is pretty huge. I expect a lot of that has to do with Hearthstone players jumping over to play Apex, and some competition from Magic the Gathering Arena chipping away at its users. I do expect that these figures will rebound once the next expansion, Rise of Shadows, launches on April 9th. Up next, 11-year-old MMORPG Age of Conan launched an update this week titled Unconquered, which adds a new mode called, as you probably guessed, Unconquered, which is basically a hardcore character in Diablo or Path of Exile. When you create a character and mark them as Unconquered, you get a bonus reward as you level up, but if you die, your run is over and your character becomes a normal one. Unconquered also adds 2 new race and class combinations, the Chimerian Assassins and the Stygian Dark Templars, and both are available for free. Also including the update is a new badge system for showing off achievements, and Vanity Weapons, which is basically a glamour system for weapons. Despite being 11 years old, Age of Conan still gets some love from its developers over at Funcom, though big updates are still pretty rare. Now, speaking of old MMORPGs, EverQuest is celebrating its 20th anniversary as of March 16th, and with it come special events along with 2 new progression servers. Both progression servers are quite popular and have queues to get on. So despite being 20 years old, EverQuest still has a pretty loyal player base. Unfortunately, like other progression servers in the game, you do have to have an active subscription to access these progression servers. Regular servers are available for free-to-play users, though. Pretty remarkable that EverQuest has been running continuously for 20 years now, and given how things are holding up, I wouldn't be surprised to see it running for at least another 10 plus years, if not longer. The base game still gets updated regularly as well, and the progression servers are always busy, so it's still doing well. Next up, a small update for Tera on consoles. The game's Reload update is launching on consoles on April 2nd, which will introduce the Ellen Gunner race/class combo along with new enchanting system, Guardian Legion missions, new endgame dungeons, new gear, and more. Keep in mind though, the Reload update has been out on the PC for over a year now, if I remember correctly, so the console version is quite a bit behind the PC one. Still, I guess the console users do get experience of kind of progression-like experience because how far behind they are, but still, the console version didn't quite launch with the base version of Tera, so it's not quite a progression servers, it's just they're playing with really old content. It is weird that the console version is about a year or so behind the PC one. It's a bit more than most games. Next and last of news this week comes from PUBG Mobile and Tencent, and it's actually pretty surprising. So Tencent reported their quarterly earnings last week, and they reported that PUBG Mobile is actually the #1 game globally by monthly active users outside of China, which is huge because while we knew PUBG Mobile was pretty big, I had no idea it was the biggest game by monthly active users outside of China. I consider this data pretty reliable because Tencent actually owns Epic Games and thus has access to Fortnite's numbers, which is really the only other competitor to being the #1 game in the Western world. And they still claim that PUBG Mobile is #1. Keep in mind though that these figures are excluding China. If we look at the world picture, including China, it probably is Honor of Kings being the most popular game in the world, which is called Arena of Valor in the West. Pretty cool that PUBG Mobile is actually this big, and it's not, I mean, it's big in America too, but it's apparently very popular in every international market it's in. Anyway, guys, that's it for MMO News this week. I'll see you guys for the podcast tomorrow. Later, guys.